So I got 2 legendary ships right now, and I'm not sure how many you guys got, but today we're going to talk about Artemis and Hades. I'm Shinchi42, and this video is sponsored by Infinite Galaxy. Now, if you want to see more regular contents for Infinite Galaxy, comparison into the flagship, which one is really good, which one is better, and how I'm progressing in here. Now, if you guys are really enjoying the game and you want to see more regular contents about Infinite Galaxy, consider subscribing and turning your notification on, as here in this channel, we're going to dive down and dive deep and get into the nitty-gritty of all these flagship. And if you want to know more, this is the channel that you should be following. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about Artemis. So I'm going to talk about the 2 legendary ships that I have right now. Since I've been using these, I have a little bit of experience and I can talk about it. But eventually, there's a lot more flagship in here. We're going to talk about them as well. There is this Odysseus, which is a flagship that you really just have to purchase, and it's really difficult to get the blueprint because you cannot get Odysseus from the blueprint shop. So you have to keep in mind when you're investing in these legendary flagship, you need to look into what can you get from the blueprint shop. Now, the Titan is really good. If you see the Titan when you first start into the game, compete for that because the Titan is super good. I am kicking myself for not pushing and trying to win the Titan. I don't know if we're gonna see the Titan again. So if I see the Titan again, I'm definitely going to be competing to at least get the Titan unlocked. Now let's talk about Artemis. Now Artemis is a frigate commander. Now let's talk about the Artemis. Artemis is a frigate flagship. So as you can see, it's a defense and frigate. This ship has a lot of shield. As you can see, the shield is 61.3k. The armor is pretty good as well, 582. To get a little bit more information about how the armor and how the shield works, there's information once you click that. Armor is the ratio to reduce HP of damage taken and has no effect to the shield. So the shield and the armor are both separate, and the shield can absorb the damage. So any incoming damage, you will be able to absorb it. But after the battle is over, your shield is going to recover. Now the armor, it's a way to deduct the damage and to knock down your HP. Your HP is your hit points, okay? So the Artemis is a very tanky flagship. And this is why this flagship works really well on campaign mode as well. And speaking of campaign mode, I've actually now in the progression of levels chapter 7 in here. All right, enough with the campaign mode. The Artemis is really good in the sense of ability with the kinetic weapon, 10%. Now, if you guys don't understand kinetic weapon, at first I was like very like discombobulated and I was kind of confused. I'm like, what does the kinetic do? Actually, it doesn't do anything. It's the base damage. There's no advantage or disadvantage. So it's really good. Now, if you talk about laser, the laser has a disadvantage towards the shield. It's like you ignore the armor, but then you lose the value on the shield. For the kinetic, it just doesn't have it. It's base. All right. Now, the total warship armor. So we've talked about the warship armor in the previous video. Make sure to check it out if you haven't seen it yet. In this one, you can see how tanky the setup is going to be. At the max level of this, it's going to be 302.4%. That's actually huge. That's a lot. That's like about 5.6, times from the base percentage. And then you also increase, and you're also reducing the range of the warship. And why is that happening? It's because it's a frigate warship. That's why, because the frigate warship are the one to get in, they get close in that fight. So the purpose of your Artemis is that they get up and close and fight the other flagship. So they're basically your tank. The next level and the next skill in here is going to increase more on the armor, increase more on the shield, and more shield in here. So this is a very demanding into the shield, right? Very shield demanding. The counter for this really is a flagship that has a missile type of weapon. because the missile will break down Artemis, and that's how you counter Artemis. Now, I don't have this unlocked yet. Navigate speed 50.4%. Now, frigates are really fast. This works really well. Allows you to maneuver, but it takes a while to get here. Now, it's also going to increase the HP, which is really, really nice. Having that higher HP allows you to absorb more damage and works really well with the armor that is being increased in here, because the higher the increase of the armor, right, the lower damage absorption that you're going to get. And with the higher HP, once you've unlocked this, you can really survive out in the open or in the galaxy field. Let's talk about Hades. Oh, wait. Before we talk about Hades, let's talk about my captain. I saw some, informations out there that Lara was really ranked really low. In my opinion, Lara is a very solid captain. Now, why do I have Lara here? Now, I have Lara here as a captain because we had a war recently and I have to bump her up as a captain. Ideally, you want Lara for the deputy so that you can benefit for the research. But for Lara being a captain, eventually you're going to be like maxed out on research and you're going to bump up Lara into your captain. Lara is really good as a captain because look at this. Flagship attack, 56%. So right now I'm using her as a captain and I'm really benefiting with this one because I'm able to use her as a captain and work with my campaign mode. So if you want to work on your campaign mode, and this 56% is really helpful in campaign mode for your flagship attack. Now, she will also increase the fleet leadership. Having the fleet leadership in the beginning, it might not be too worth it because you don't have a lot of fleets. But in the long run, in the late game, this is going to be absolutely deadly. Imagine that you're increasing the number of fleet on your flagship, right? When you send out a dispatch. And you're also increasing the damage of your flagship. So it's like you're creating this massive ball of like big tanky damage, fleet. So I would say Lara is definitely one of the best captain for Infinite Galaxy. I started to like work on Hades because I needed another setup in here for legendary that I kind of want to save up and once I am done with Artemis. But what I like about this is that there is the navigation speed, which is 25.2%, a little bit slower than Artemis. Increased fleet leadership, meaning you can have a big fleet, right? Which is really good. You can see all that number rack up. And one thing I like about this, because I'm starting to I have a lot of frigates already, and now I need to work on my destroyer. I'm looking for a destroyer type of setup. So I'm like, this would be really good, destroyer setup as well for me. But in my previous video, I did talk about Thesis. So in Thesis, I was kind of like working with any type of units in here. So make sure you check that video out. But so, okay, let's get back to destroyer. I'm working on my destroyer because I want to be able to counter some of the frigates as well. Now, as you can see, it increases up to 60.5% for attack and HP. So this is more like a damage and more like a hunter type of flagship. You go out and, it has that moving speed and have a high attack. It's a very different flagship than Artemis because Artemis is a very tanky flagship. Now, more navigate speed. So as you unlock more, see, this is one thing I haven't unlocked this. That's why I said it's a little bit slower than Artemis, but actually it's a lot faster because then you'll unlock this fortified fleet mobility and you're going to get 30.2% more on the navigate speed, which is really nice. This is why I said this is a hunter. You go out in the open space of the galaxy, you see somebody running away, you'll be able to intercept them by using Hades. Now we also have the range to increase, very opposite as Artemis. Now the range is 34%. So what that means is that it doesn't go up close into the battle. You're more on the back end. So you're not really tanking. You don't die. Your troops doesn't get defeated right away. And again, it increases attack 34% for the destroyer, which I'm telling you right now, this Hades is a very, very deadly flagship. I would hate to see the Hades flying around and trying to catch me during the Galaxy Star event when it's an elimination event for that. I would hate it because it moves fast. I'm going to have a very difficult time to maneuver. Now, in the beginning, of course, right now in the stage, not a lot of players have maxed it out yet, but eventually players will max these flagship and you will see the fullest potential of these flagship. And I'm telling you, you should be investing into your flagship as early as day one. Because if you are looking into a long-term gaming into this game, if you invest on your flagship late and you try to work on your flagship late, you're going to suffer. So do it early as you can. Well, we talked about two different flagship in here. Artemis is a very tanky flagship. Hades is a mobility and an attacker. So you would want to play this in a different role, right? Different type of approaches. Definitely both really, really good flagship. Both plays a different role. So we can't really say one is much better than the other. But since this is a destroyer, destroyers should counter the frigates. Besides that, hopefully you guys enjoyed this type of content. If you guys want to see more flagship comparison, what should we look into next? Let us know in the comment section below. And hope you guys would consider subscribing and see more of the contents that I'm going to be making in here. Anyway, thank you guys for checking this out. I'll see you again next time.